up, everybody? Super Dorks fan here for Mustang Weekly Update number 2 on this Friday. So, what's new with the Mustang? Well, actually, as I was just saying that, I crossed 1,000 miles. So the car's officially broken in, and I was gonna wait and do my first Redline run whenever I did my review, which I'll probably be filming in a few days. But I couldn't wait that long, so I was like, what the heck? I'll just do it in the weekly update, and that way you guys will be able to watch it a little bit sooner as well. So it'll be interesting though, because of the crazy weather that's going on in America these days. We currently have snow. Now it's 34 degrees, so it's not even quite cold enough for it to lay. The roads are just wet, and this car has all season tires. It's not summer tires, so it can handle some mild snow, I think, with just these tires. I'm hopefully going to be doing snow tires here very soon. But so yeah, driving as it's snowing, nonetheless. And but yeah, I mean, it's still such an amazing car. I've just obviously been driving it a lot. It's been a little over a week now, week and a half that I've had it, and 1,000 miles in a week and a half isn't too shabby if you ask me. So yeah, I'm just having so much fun in it. There's just so many good things about it. It's so refined, it's so comfortable, so two little things though, because I am doing this to give my ownership experience and not just, sit here and beam about the car all the time. Two things that I have noticed over the past week and a half that I've owned it. The first, and someone pointed this out in the comments and asked me about the panel gap, and there is a little bit more panel gap than I think is normal, where the door meets the fender, especially on the driver's side, and I know that's something that I think some other 2015 Mustang owners of this first production run were complaining about, is the panel fitment not being quite right. I'm not OCD about that stuff, so it doesn't really bother me. It's close enough and it doesn't stand out that it's like, oh my gosh, I need to get that fixed. But obviously, if that's something that would irk you, then I would wait for a later production run. I'm sure they're going to correct it, further on down the line here. But this is one of the, this was in the first job they did, I believe, and so little things just need ironed out with a brand new car, like anything else. So that's the one thing. The other thing is there's like a little grinding noise that's always going on in the glove box area. And it goes away kind of when I turn the heating controls off, for air conditioning or heating. So it might be connected with that. I'm not sure, and I can't remember hearing that sound when I first picked up the car. And it's been going on, throughout all this week. I've kept hearing it, and I'm not totally sure why. Again, it doesn't really bother me. It's quiet. It's not obnoxious or anything. Just something that, I'm just getting used to. All right, guys. So I've never done this before. First Redline run. Like I said, it's a little bit slick because of, the rainy, snowy roads here, but Redline, here we go. Oh, traction control kicked in, but man, it's fast. It's fast. Doing that in the BRZ did not get me the kind of speeds that this has gotten me. It's quick. Oh man, so did not disappoint. God, I just want to do it again now. Oh man, this thing has so much power. It's the fastest car I've ever owned. I know that's not a lot of power really, 310 horsepower, but man, and that's the thing that just keeps prevailing throughout this week that I've driven it since last week. It's just how nice it is to have so much power. I mean, the Mini had decent torque and it was good. The BRZ did not have any torque, so highway passing and merging and stuff like that was always like a Redline run kind of affair. Whereas this, it's not like that. You don't have to wring it out. And so I actually find it to be a little more relaxing. The redlining stuff all the time is fun for some people, and it was fun for me for 2 years, but after a while I kind of got a little frustrated with the BRZ's need that you couldn't go anywhere unless you're redlining it. I mean, every time I merge onto the highway, it's like, let's go down to second gear to get enough power to accelerate onto the highway to merge, stuff like that. And so this car, it's so nice just to leave it in the gear and be able to pass people on the highway and have plenty of power to get the passing done quickly and stuff like that. It's really nice to have power, and this power isn't coming at a huge sacrifice to fuel economy either. That's the other thing. People keep asking me, what kind of fuel economy have I been getting? So like I said, my very first tank, which was 87 gas, I got 28.5 miles per gallon, mostly highway driving. The second tank was mostly city driving on 93, and I ended up averaging, I think, 24.5 miles per gallon, which was slightly disappointing. But it was mostly city driving. The car is rated at 22 in the city, so that shouldn't have been any kind of surprise. Now, for this tank, I'm only halfway through this tank, but so far, according to the trip computer on this car, for this tank of gas, I'm getting 27.2, and that's mixed driving. So that's pretty, that's what I expected, because the combined average for this car, the ratings are 22 in the city and 31 on the highway for the manual, and the combined average is 26. I'm getting 27.2, so like I expected. The EPA estimates to me have always seemed a little low, and so this falls in line with that, and I think that's really good. 27 miles to the gallon for, the fun, spirited driving that I have been doing and everything. Yeah, it's just really great. Another question that some people have asked that I want to answer is, what are my mod plans? What am I going to be doing? I get this question a lot on Instagram. By the way, I changed my Instagram username for those of you that didn't know. It's now EcoBoostFan. But as far as mod plans go, I don't have a long list. Like I said, I don't always go crazy when I'm modifying my cars. I just do a few things and that's it. My mod plans for this, eventually, if I can line up sponsors to help me out with getting some of the parts, or, just waiting until I have more money sometime next year, what I would like to do is wheels, some kind of black wheels, either torque thrusts or something, maybe multi-spoke, kind of like the GT Performance Pack wheels. Those look really nice. So something like that, for wheels. I'd also like to do window tint, of course, nothing super dark, but just a little bit darker. And then in addition to those two things, performance-wise, right now, I don't feel like the car needs a lot performance-wise. Sure, an ECU tune would be nice, since it's so easy to get more power out of this. Just going stage 1 would probably give me, like I said, I have plenty of power stock, but stage 1 would give me more than enough, and I think I'd be plenty happy with that. I'd like to do an exhaust and an intake as well. As far as the exhaust goes, I haven't heard anything I really love yet. There's one exhaust that I kind of like that sounds a little bit like a V6 Jag F-Type, crazy enough for a little turbo 4-cylinder. This car, I think when you give it time, I think there's going to be some really nice exhaust systems out for it. Right now, though, since the car is so young, not a whole lot of options out there, and I don't want to put anything on until the spring anyway, so I'd rather just hold off on that for now. But yeah, so that's basically all that I have planned as far as modifications for the car. Whenever I do new wheels, then I would obviously like to include some more sporting tires, because these all seasons are all seasons, and regardless of how good all seasons are, they're still all season tires, and the crappiest summer tire is normally better than an all season in summer driving. So I'd like, since I'll be buying dedicated snow tires most likely, I'd like to buy dedicated summer tires to go along with the new wheels as well. And with new wheels, sometimes you have to lower the car for it to look right, so maybe I'll do springs if I can find springs that retain the stock ride characteristics, just with a slightly lower ride height, then I would probably be up for doing that too. But again, nothing crazy. This car rides so nice right now, I do not want to mess up the suspension in this car, so I want to make sure that it's something that's just as comfortable as stock. So, because that Redline run was so much fun, I decided to do another loop and do it again. Traction control that time kicking in, whoa! And then, man, once that traction control let up and I went into second gear, it just took off. Oh man, I love that. Oh. It's so fast. Seriously, yeah, GT would be nice. It would probably sound nicer. But that it's really fast. It's plenty fast for me. That'll put a smile on my face every day. And one thing that people mention is how the power drops off after 5,000 RPMs in the EcoBoost, which will be fixed with the tunes and stuff, I'm sure, a little bit. But those two Redline runs, I didn't feel like, wow, this car is really dying off after I got to a certain RPM. It was okay. It really was good. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. Oh man, I'm so glad break-in period is over. I don't know what I was missing. Man, this is fun. So anyway, I'll send it back to you at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news. The first thing is that Acura, one of their chief designers, when he was talking to someone at SEMA, hinted at them reviving the Integra. Kind of. So basically, he was quoted as saying basically that every good luxury performance brand needs to have like a halo sports car, and they also need to have an accessible, affordable sport car. Now, he said not a sports car, a sport car. So he's differentiating. We're not talking about the NSX, which would be Acura's sports car, but a sport car. So, I mean, obviously, they have this spectacular Honda Civic Si. It'd be very easy to take that and make an Integra version or something like that, or just do their completely, do their own car. Later on in the conversation, I think they said that nothing would come about before 2017, so it's still a ways off. Don't hold your breath. While we're talking about revivals, though, with these wonderful days of the Supra being revived and the FT1, and, with all these other great cars that are making a comeback, they asked the Mazda CEO, so, what do you think? Is there going to be an RX-7 revival or an RX-8 revival or anything like that? And they were like, no, we're closing the door, no, we're not doing it. Quit asking, essentially, is what they said. They're looking to do mainstream cars. I mean, obviously, they're a small automaker. They say they don't have a lot of money to be developing high-end sports cars, which makes sense, of course. That kind of stuff costs a lot of money and rarely is a profitable business. So it's fine, but it's definitely depressing for a lot of you that are hoping, because there's rumors from time to time that a new RX-7 will be coming out. And with the Supra making a return, maybe we can get back to the 90s glory days of import wars, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. At least Mazda will not be partaking in that. Next is that Cadillac has officially unveiled the ATS-V for the world to see. Obviously it's just the coupe that they've shown for now. 450 horsepower, 445 foot-pounds of torque from that twin-turbo V6. That's exactly what we expected. And the wonderful thing, 6-speed manual transmission. Yeah, I mean, you can get the 7-speed automatic. I think it's the same one that's available in the Corvette that I just reviewed. But obviously, 6-speed manual is the way to go, duh. And that's awesome. As we saw in the spy shots, it looks glorious. I think it just translates the V transformation they did for the ATS Coupe. Because the ATS Coupe, to be perfectly honest, was pretty bland in my opinion. This really spices it up. That looks spectacular. So how everyone's been doing these Vision Gran Turismo cars. Chevy actually just released one this week that they say is purely fantasy. This is just our designers' wildest dreams just being put into digital form. And their car looks pretty amazing. But the one that really caught my attention, Subaru. Subaru did their Visiv GT concept, which is strictly for this video game. Again, don't ever hope to see this thing even in the flesh, let alone in production or anything like that. It's a total dream. But the Visiv GT, they released this teaser video. You can click the annotation here to watch it. It is glorious. If you want an ultimate version of what like a supercar version of the BRZ would be, that's what this car is. And my goodness, it looks so nice. Man, I really wish that like Subaru would just build it. I don't care if they price it at $1 million. Like, they need to just produce those. Even if they only make 5 of them or something, just seeing one of those on the streets would probably make me pass out. Another rumor that hopefully is true, this is that they're saying the Volkswagen Golf R400 may actually make it into production. They say it may actually have 420 horsepower, so it'll be renamed the 420, the R420 instead, which is even better. They're saying if it did get produced, chances are it probably won't come to the US because Volkswagen never gives us the good stuff, like the Scirocco and all the other R versions and stuff. This R400, I mean, it'd probably be very limited production, and not sure how many they would make, but it would probably, they would say it was going to be well over 40 grand if they even made it. So how many people are going to pay 40 grand for a hopped up version of the Golf? I mean, it's going to be amazing, I'm sure, but 40 grand for a Volkswagen is kind of steep, so who knows? But I think that people would buy it if they brought it over here. And another thing is, with the LA Auto Show coming up here in a few days, Scion has revealed their IM concept that they're going to be bringing to LA. And this is what was teased a couple weeks ago that I talked about. And the full car, I mean, I think this concept has a crazy body kit on it that probably won't make it to production. But the way it looks now, it looks a little weird to me. Not a big fan of it. But I know, Scion kind of needs a car of this type since, they're phasing out all the other boxy cars they've made. And I mean, I think it looks good. But, I just was hoping for a new version of the Scion TC or an updated FRS or something like that. And that's just kind of meh to me. Pagani has officially launched the Huayra in China with a special edition called the Dinastia edition, I think. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but basically it's, not a whole lot different, just has a special paint scheme, and it's, a special edition car, but, cool to see that they're going to be launching in China. More Paganis that are produced, the better, in my opinion. In other hypercar news, there's a report this week saying that the LaFerrari XX, which is the track-only, not street-legal version of the LaFerrari, is going to get 100 extra horsepower. And it's not going to be from a bumped-up battery pack or something. It's just, they said they squeezed 100 extra horsepower out of that V12 engine, which is mind-blowing. I don't know how they managed to do that, but that's what this is claiming. So it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, it's competing with the P1, GTR, and all that kind of stuff. Very interesting to see that. I hope it's true. The way Ferrari is with amazing cars, though, would not surprise me one bit. Another supercar that's in development is the McLaren Sports Series, which is officially what they're going to call their baby model, the small, slower one. And there's just a teaser shot of the front end. You can kind of see the headlights a little bit, lots of camouflage still. And they're saying this car will probably have a detuned version of the twin-turbo V8. They're guessing 450 horsepower, so lower horsepower numbers, but it's going to be a lighter car and smaller and stuff, so it will still be an amazing performer. It probably won't be as bonkers as the 650S, but it'll still be very impressive nonetheless. So very excited to see that. Hopefully, now that they have prototypes running and out testing, maybe a year or two away on this car. I'm very excited to see it, especially with the AMG GT that's out now and all these other exciting cars in this lower supercar class. It's going to be very exciting to see. Next is that there's a new sportier version of the Rolls-Royce Wraith that's being tested. It has a more aggressive front lip, and that's about all we can tell from these pictures so far. Not sure what they're going to be doing. I don't really see why Rolls-Royce is pursuing the performance sector of high-end luxury. Bentley has that pretty well taken care of, and maybe Rolls-Royce is trying to get a little piece of the Bentley action. I'm not totally sure what's going on there, but hey, more Rolls-Royce models the better as well, so I'm not going to complain about more variants of the Wraith. Right, so in other luxury car news, there's a new Range Rover that's coming out. It's based on the Autobiography Edition, but they collaborated with Holland & Holland and the SVO division, which is the new performance division of Range Rover. And so they're making this new executive class Range Rover that has reclining rear seats, and it's all decked out and looks like a Maybach inside, essentially. And Holland & Holland, I think they're like gun makers, and so this actually has a leather-lined gun box in it as well, which is very interesting. And Land Rover says they're only going to make 40 of these per year. Here's the price, $285,000. Range Rovers are really nice, but that's a lot of money. I don't know if it's that much nicer than a standard Range Rover, which is still stupidly awesome. So, yeah, but if you've always wanted a leather-lined gun box in the back of your Range Rover, you can now have it. In some other unexpected news this week in luxury car sector, Acura is working on a minivan apparently, even though minivans, at least here in America, are becoming less and less popular, with crossovers being the choice for most people. But apparently the sales trends are that the base minivans aren't very popular anymore, but the decked out luxury ones are. So I think Acura may be eyeing that territory and saying, well, we can make a better luxury minivan than Toyota can or something. So that's what they're doing. I don't know if it's just going to be a nicer version of the Odyssey essentially, or if this is going to be a totally new car on their own. Another piece of unexpected news, at least to me, is that Infiniti's working on a Q30 prototype, which is going to be like a baby SUV. But here's the kicker. They're working with Mercedes on this car, and this car is actually based on the Mercedes GLA, so which is the larger, hopped up version of the CLA essentially, and they're actually sharing the same engine. This Infiniti is going to have a CLA motor powering it, which is kind of crazy to me. I'm kind of surprised Mercedes is even agreeing to let someone build a car that's going to compete against theirs while using some of their same parts. But that's what's happening. It's the same platform as the GLA, and it has a CLA engine in it. And it's going to be an Infiniti. Very interesting stuff there. I was not aware of that partnership. Maybe I missed something over the past few years. I did not know that Infiniti and Mercedes were working together on crossovers now. But very cool to see that. I don't know if it's going to look as good as the Mercedes, obviously, which maybe that's why Mercedes isn't worried about a competitor coming right from their own platform. But yeah, I mean, it's just heavily camouflaged, so it's hard to judge right now, and I'm sure it'll look better once it's out in the open, uncamouflaged. So that's it for all the news this week, guys. So since I already did 2 Redline runs in the Mustang, I'm not going to go back to being in the Mustang, but thank you very much for watching as always, and I'll see you next week. Take care.